Okay, so looking at factorising our difference of two squares. What that means is if I have two numbers that I can square root, which has a negative in between, I have a little trick to help me out with it. So essentially, it's going to be double brackets. It's going to be plus, minus. Now our a squared is at the front, so you square root it to give you a. And so a goes to the front of your brackets. And then our b squared is at the back, so I square root it to b. And so b goes to the back of my brackets. So using that general rule, I can easily factorise every single one of these questions. So again, two brackets, plus minus, square root of x squared is x, square root of y squared is y. Same again, square root of w squared is w, square root of 9 is 3. Square root of 100 is 10. Square root of h squared is h. So those are some very, very basic examples, but it's not always going to be as straightforward as that. So these ones here, looking at my first one. So again, just going to set up my brackets. So best way to do it, I like to think of first looking at the number, then looking at the algebra. So I think, right, what's the square root of 4? Well, the square root of 4 is 2. Then what's the square root of b squared? Well, that will just be b. Then the square root of 9 is 3. Same idea here. Actually, I'm just going to divide this up just so I don't get lost with my brackets getting too near. So just going to set up my brackets. So firstly, square root of 25 is 5. Square root of that m squared is going to be m. Square root of 36 is 6. Square root of n squared is n. So square root of 100 in this case is 10. Square root of a squared is a. Square root of b squared is b. And square root of 49 is 7. So looking at each little element of individually. First I looked at the 100. Then I looked at the a squared. Then I look at the b squared. Don't let it phase you or panic you when you've got a lot of information like that. Just do it one at a time. So in our next example, we have 4b squared minus 16. Now, we've already gone over common factorisation. And the order you should always think about when it comes to factorising is, first, is there a common factor? Ooh, can it fit? Kind of a bit squished. So first, is there a common factor? If there is, gonna make it into a single bracket. Then ask yourself, is there our difference of two squares? And even if I common factorise first, I'm still gonna check my number 2. And when we come to it, my number 3. Oh, that's not going to fit. And number 3 I'll go over in the next video. So I look at this first and I think, right, is there a common factor? Well, I could divide 4 and 16 by 4. So yes, there is. So I'm going to take 4 on the outside. And now I've got b squared minus 4 inside my bracket. But then I look and double check and make sure I fully factorise. And if I look, I can square root b squared. I can square root 4. And there is this take away sign in the middle. So that means I can also apply my number 2. So 4 is just going to sit at the front by itself. Square root of b squared is b. Square root of 4 is 2. And that's that question fully factorised. And one more type of question that these could come up. So this one, I've got a factorise and then I've got a hence. Fairly certain I've done a hence question earlier. But if you ever see this, it means you're using whatever you got for your previous answer. So first, factorising that, I can see I can square root both. There's that negative sign. So setting up my brackets, got my plus, got my minus. Square root of f squared is f. Square root of g squared is g. Then it says, hence evaluate 9.7 squared minus 0.3 squared. Now don't let that worry you. Firstly, you know that this is meant to relate to our previous one due to that word hence. And if underneath, if I line up my f squared minus g squared, we can see these are actually quite related to each other. And so I can use what I've just worked out to help me begin simplifying this. So that will just become 9.7 minus 0.3, then 9.7 plus 0.3. I'm just going to write it out again down here, just so the next part is a bit more obvious. So then I'm actually just going to do these little sums. So I'm first going to do 9.7 take away 0.3, so that's just going to be 9.4. And then I'll do 9.7 add 0.3, so that's just going to be 10. And remember, 2 brackets next to each other, that just means they're multiplying. So I'm doing 9.4 times by 10, which is just 94. So that is one other way that this type of factorisation question could come up. So in the next video, going to be looking at our last main type of factorisation, which is trinomials using the sum and product method.